Hello there, my name is JaKaTaK, and this is a ladder. The Starcraft 2 ladder is not like this one. It's old, paint stuff on it, danger signs. It's made of wood. And sure, it works. You can stand upon it. See? It's safe. Maybe you're scared to climb the ladder. Maybe it doesn't look very safe. Maybe the closest you get to a ladder is putting your coffee cup on top of it. Maybe you've taken the first step and went from bronze to silver. Now you're trying to go to the gold league. And this is where you're hitting your personal skill ceiling. Maybe you'll go back down to silver. The point is, this ladder is scary. We should find ourselves a better ladder, a newer ladder, a more inviting and enjoyable ladder, so that people can play Starcraft without worrying about falling and breaking their neck.
Understanding motivation is incredibly difficult, and we as human beings still are nowhere near 100% certainty of how we get motivated and how motivation works. But there's a lot of people working on it, and some of the people working on it came up with this, which is the temporal motivation theory. Let's put it in Starcraft terms. Motivation to play Starcraft. Easy enough. Expectancy, which is kind of deceivingly worded in a sort of colloquial way. Expectancy is the probability that you're going to achieve the result that you want to achieve. So in this case, promotions. Multiplied by value, which means how much you value getting that new border on your portrait. Finally, this is all divided by delay, which is how long it takes you to get to where you want to go. The lower the delay is, the higher the motivation is going to be. If we look at the system as it is now, best case scenario, you start in bronze. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. In your entire StarCraft career, you will only get meaningful feedback regarding your skill 6 times. Maybe you played for 6 years. Once a year, you get to find out that you improved? That's a gigantic delay. A lot of times, players will have all of their delay in one particular league jump. So say you shoot right up to Diamond. No problem. It's easy for you. You are a natural. Great. You're in Diamond. But to get from Diamond to Masters is gigantic. It's this huge chasm. It takes you forever. That means big delay, low motivation. What's even worse is you have no idea where in Diamond you actually are. No idea. You could be right on the edge of Masters and not know it. And then you give up because it's been so long. You've been trying to get into Masters, you just give up. That's it. But what usually happens is the opposite. You think you're about to get Masters League, but actually you're more in the middle or maybe towards the bottom. There's a lot of different factors that go into that. The first one is divisions. So you might think to yourself, I'm top 8 Diamond. That means I'm almost in Masters, right? Completely wrong. The reason for that is because there are 100 people assigned to a division. And that's based on the time that you get into that league. So, say you have 6 StarCraft accounts. I don't know why you would have 6 StarCraft accounts, but say you do. And you play all your placement matches right in a row. And somehow they're super fast placement matches. And they're all the same MMR. All 6 of your accounts will be placed into the same league. It's based on the time that you happen to qualify for a particular league. So it's random, it's lucky, it depends on random factors. It has nothing to do with skill. You could be a part of the worst 100 Diamond players and be top 8 and think you're about to get Masters, but not. So you think high expectancy, you think you're right about to get what it is. You think, I've got a 90% chance this next game I'm going to get promoted. When in actuality, it's more like a 2% chance that you'll get promoted. So let's get rid of those immediately. Now, we're still in the problem of delay. We want to decrease the amount of time it takes to get from each point on the ladder. That's very easy to fix. We replace the meaningless divisions with meaningful divisions. 1 to 10. Top 10%. You are the number 1 bronze players. Top 20%. You're the number 2, etc., etc. Now we've gone from only 6 points of feedback in a lifetime to 60. Not bad. Now, it's likely that the value of going from bronze 1 to bronze 2 is about a tenth of what it used to be, going from bronze to silver. Okay, so now we've reached equilibrium between delay and value. The thing that changes this equation is expectancy. Now, the percentage chance that we're going to receive a promotion is way higher. So we've got a positive effect, a negative effect, and a positive effect. Overall, we have a net positive on motivation. In addition, by going for a hierarchical structure, which is very intuitive for human beings, it's literally the way that the brain is made on a physical level and even on a thinking level. When we go from gold 1 to platinum 10, it will be more valuable than we go from gold 2 to gold 1. Because now we're in a different league. Now we're in a different section. By adding tiers, we're decreasing the value less than we're decreasing the delay. Again, another plus to motivation. Now, value is a lot more difficult thing to manipulate. It's very subtle, and there are a lot of different little parts to it. Let's consider Hearthstone. When you play a game of Hearthstone and you get a pack, it's exciting because you get to open it. There's the random factor that you might get something, and we can just sort of put that aside. And that's a big part of it, right? Random rewards, very, sort of motivating. It has a psychological effect to it. But also these little things like the way that it glows, the way that the pack shakes and it wants to be opened almost, the way that it explodes and it's exciting, and the way that even there are people recorded saying, yeah, when you win games. All of these little things, all of these small things come together to create value. In Starcraft, we have some of that, but we could definitely have a lot more. In Starcraft, we basically have the border around your name, the fact that the symbol is really cool looking, and the fact that status and prestige in the community are associated with League. All of those things add to the value of the reward of getting promoted. Personally, I don't have too many ideas concerning how we can increase value other than the stuff that I just mentioned. So if you have an idea about how we can increase the emotional, motivational value of getting promoted, that feeling, different things that we can do to increase that, please share that in the comment section. Let's talk about it. If we can increase the value, the feeling of value in the whole picture, then we can increase motivation as well. Let's talk about loss aversion. Loss aversion is the human tendency to value a loss negatively more than they value a gain positively. So basically, to feel good about wins and losses in Starcraft, you would effectively have to win twice as much as you're losing. That would be neutral motivation territory. One of the likely reasons why Blizzard currently prevents you from getting demoted during a season is to avoid loss aversion. It's especially devastating in the old system when there are only 7 leagues. Maybe something you worked for, Diamond League say, takes you 2 years, and then you get demoted? That's awful. It feels like something that you've achieved is being taken away from you. And because of loss aversion, that negative feeling is twice as intense as the positive feeling that you got when you finally did get promoted. The problems with having no demotions in the middle of a season are that you aren't seeing an accurate representation of your skill, and your MMR is still changing. So when the new season comes around, you're gonna get demoted anyway. Loss aversion is a difficult, if not impossible, problem to solve if you're only looking at wins, losses, demotions, and promotions. But there's another way that we can solve it. We replace the bonus pool with daily quests. The problem with the bonus pool is it focuses in the player on the points, and the points leads to wins, losses, promotions, and demotions. Those are the interactions. Daily quests take the focus away from the latter points. Now, it's really important how this is executed, otherwise we're just going to end back at loss aversion. First off, daily quests have to be actionable. It has to be something you can do right there, right then. It can't be something like, get 100 kills with a Psystorm, because you don't know if you'll be able to accomplish that day. There are so many different things involved. We want to make them as actionable and attainable as possible. Specifically, daily quests need to be attainable in a day. And that's not 24 hours a day, that's a day of average playing for an average person. And lastly, we need daily quests that are completely separate from win-loss. The way that the ladder works is that you'll be winning half the time and losing half the time. Eventually, it'll move you around until you get into that place. Problem is, you're feeling the loss, because of loss aversion, twice as much. So if you're just laddering, it's a negative emotional state. To start off with something simple and something that I believe is already being tracked in Starcraft, let's talk about destruction and creation. Now I say destroy X value and create X value for a very specific reason. If you say kill X units or kill X buildings, then you're going to be affected by your opponent. Oh man, I really hope I get a Zerg and he makes tons of Zerglings so I can kill X units. That's frustrating. What if you keep getting Protosses? Not in this latter state, but I mean, what if you did? Or the other way. Buildings. What about buildings? Destroy X buildings. That can be exciting. Well, Zerg don't make a lot of buildings, so then you're like, oh god, I hope I don't play a Zerg, because otherwise I won't be able to get my daily achievement. Something that's a little bit more reasonable and not quite as wishy-washy per race is value. Destroy 1,000 resources worth of stuff. Cool. Create 1,000 resources worth of stuff. You could say even of units or buildings. You could specify if you wanted to. I think stuff is pretty good though. I'd like to make a small note that because gas is mined approximately 2.5 times slower than minerals, and it's also about 2.5 times more scarce per map than minerals, I would like to propose that resources equal minerals plus gas times 2.5. While we're at it, we could change the resources loss tab as well, and this would make it much more meaningful. Another idea that would be a little bit more difficult to execute on, but would be really cool to see in the future, is land X spell. So you could say cast X spell, and that would probably be easier, but then I would just build 100 infestors and fungal the same spot, hit nothing, and then die. That wouldn't be particularly fun. This is an opportunity for us to motivate people to explore areas of the game that maybe they're not exploring. So we change it to land X spell. I have to hit things with fungal growth, a non-zero amount. I have to hit something with a fungal growth. Awesome, cool. I have to do it 5 times today. All right. I'm going to do some fungal builds. I'm going to try to figure out how to use the infestor a little bit better. Now, this is something that's really simple and kind of deceiving how effective I think it would be. Play X games. Get in a skateboard, learn how to be really good, get in the X games. But seriously, play a certain number of games, whatever that number is. The cool thing about this is, you know what league the player is in, as Blizzard. Let's say we're on the new system, and the new system, you're a Bronze 10. Okay, maybe Bronze 10 to Bronze 5. The play X games number is 1. Play a game of Starcraft today. Cool. Maybe you get into like Bronze 1 through 5 in the up areas, and it's like, okay, play 2 games today. Not win or lose, that's the important thing too. We don't want to connect wins and losses to the daily quests. We want to keep it separate from that. We want to keep it actionable. And I didn't mention this before, but that's actually something you could do with the land X spell. And again, this is something that would be really difficult to execute, but you know, as Blizzard, with all your data, maybe you're not collecting the data, start collecting it. You can know, it's possible, what kind of units this player is building. And you can tailor the achievements to get them to try new things. Maybe they've never built an infestor. Maybe their achievement is build 1 infestor. Maybe the first achievement for them is not even land the spell, but since they've never built an infestor before, they're clearly a little bit worried about spellcasters and they're staying away from them, which is a pretty common trend among lower level players. Maybe their achievement is build an infestor. Maybe it's build 4 infestors because Destiny. And then once they've seen that, they don't see that quest ever again, but a new quest comes up. That new quest is land X fungals or destroy X value with infested Terrans. These are just some of the ideas that have been bouncing around my head. I'm sure you've got a lot of ideas for this as well. Please share them in the comments. Let's get them all together. We'll show them to Blizzard and be like, look at all the cool ideas we have. But let's assume there's a whole bunch of these type of things that we can get going. Now that you have a good idea about what I mean by daily quest, let's take a look at the motivation theory. Expectancy is going to be 100% because we can design daily quests in a way that 100%, if you sit down and you play the games, you're gonna get the reward. 100%, if you win or lose, you will fight and you will destroy X stuff, whatever that might be. That's a 100% achievable goal in that day. And obviously you'd have to tweak the numbers to make sure it is an achievable goal in one day. The delay is really fast because you're gonna do it that day. Bam! Oh, I have a quest. I achieved it today. Reward. Feeling good. That's gonna fill a lot of the gaps between 1 through 10, because you can't expect to be promoted every single day. You're not Flash. But the problem, and the reason why I left it for last, is value. If you put daily quests into the game and they aren't assigned any value, 0 times anything. You math majors know what I'm talking about. It's 0. That means 0 motivation will happen. There will be some innate motivation in people just like to achieve things. They're like, oh yeah, cool. That's why achievements are in every single game. Because there's this need, there's a human need to achieve things. It's a lot of the reason why people play Starcraft or people have a hobby of playing guitar. They're not going to go professional, but we like to achieve things, to master things. It feels good. But we can do better than that. This is where the more difficult to execute part comes in. This is where we're talking about in-game currency, voice packs, skins, all these microtransaction type things. Can be, as they are in many games, tied to these daily quests. You may have noticed that I haven't talked very much about Grandmasters League, and that's because Blizzard has a solution that I already like a lot, so I'm just going to support it. Grandmasters League is the top 200 players on the server marked at a certain time in the day, whatever time that is. Maybe it's midnight in the most prominent time zone on that server. Okay, great. So you can say, oh man, yesterday's list of Grandmaster was this. I'm going to try to get in today. Whatever it might be. No bonus pool, no ladder points, no bullshit. Show the MMR, people will know exactly where they stand, exactly how good they are, and so will everybody else. They'll be like, oh my god, that's amazing. The person, Neeb, got 7k MMR. That's never even happened before. That's how good he is. Because once you get into the top 200 players, MMR starts to have even bigger value in that you can have really big gaps of MMR in between the first and second place person, depending, and that gives something to fight for. That's really cool. And while we're on the topic of MMR, let's just show the MMR, please. And this is why. The main argument against showing MMR is loss aversion. You don't want to see people lose their points in MMR. But guess what? They're seeing themselves lose ladder points anyway. Ladder points are just this fluffy layer that we put on top of the MMR to attempt to make it look better. But it doesn't make it look better. It's the exact same thing, except we don't actually know where we are in the grand scheme of things because we don't know what our MMR is. Now, MMR is pretty easy to talk about with GM. It's just a list of 200 MMRs and you stack them accordingly, and it's very easy. But there's a misconception that you can either have MMR, and that's shown, or you can have a tiered rank. And if you have both, they have to be separate. They have to be separate things. That's what it explains in the post most recently about this. Blizzard says, okay, you'll have 2 rankings. You'll have your MMR and you'll have your tier. They'll be separated, they'll be different. The tier rating will be like the best you've ever done, but the MMR will be your current status. And personally, I don't like that at all. I think it's really inelegant and kind of confusing. It sort of lends into this tendency that a lot of players already have, which is like, well, I'm about high diamond, but I play like a low masters. Really, it's just another manifestation of everyone being super focused on their ladder points and super focused on their rank and their standing, instead of being focused on having fun playing the game, or if you want to improve, being focused on improving at the game. They're watching all their ladder points go up and down, little minutia. So let's cross off that confusing double ranked system where you're 2 ranks at the same time and combine them together. It's actually relatively straightforward. We kind of already have this system in place. We have ladder points, and your ladder points determine where you are within your division. But ladder points don't tell you what your actual skill rating is, and the division doesn't actually tell you anything. So you replace your division with 1 through 10, and you replace ladder points with MR, and you're done. You don't give someone a list of every single bronze 10 person on the server. That's kind of extensive. You just have sort of, okay, you're bronze 1, and this is your MMR. If you're bronze 1, you know your MMR, which is cool, so you can compare with your friends and things like that, see how far away you are from top pros and different things like that. That's cool. But also, you know you're in the top 10%, because that's what bronze 1 means. And let's talk about percentages for a minute, because that's kind of insane. I'm going to bring up an actual chart. This is ridiculous. I have no idea why this happens. Maybe it's due to the fact that there's no demotions, or the algorithm does a particular thing that places people in leagues, etc. Personally, and I'm going to start from a place of ignorance here, why are the leagues changing? I really would like to know that. And maybe there's an explanation. Maybe it's just, okay, if you don't allow demotions, then the leagues are going to shift and there's nothing you can do about it. We've already got rid of that. The whole no demotions things, no, that's gone. Forget about that. So if that's the only thing, then okay, great, we're good. Leagues will be leagues. But I need to know why. Why isn't Masters the top 2% of all players all the time based on MMR? Why? If we have a system that's totally based on MMR and not ladder points, will that fix the problem? All things that I'd really like to know. If anyone from Blizzard is watching, and David Kim is watching, hi David, please, I'd really like, and I think a lot of the people too, just in the Starcraft community would like to know why it is that the leagues change. Why is Diamond 10% one moment and 8% and the next day, and it does this little shifty thing? What's going on there? It'd be really cool if when we restructured your Bronze 1, you would know I'm in the top 10% of Bronze. And it wouldn't do that weird shifting thing. Well, Bronze 1 was the top 2% this week, but next week it's probably 2.5%. Like, we need to get rid of that unneeded complexity, make it really straightforward, and I think people are going to be really happy. Too long, didn't watch. Daily quests replace the bonus pool. They have to be actionable, they have to be attainable within a regular day that a human being would play Starcraft. And they have to be separated from wins and losses. Replace the divisions that we have now with meaningful 1 through 10 divisions representing 10% chunks of the population. Show the MMR, forget about ladder points, it's a waste of time. Make the GM top 200 MMR, change every single day at a particular time, and again, show MMR. This will work because we're decreasing delay, we're decreasing value, but less than we're decreasing delay. We're increasing expectancy, and we're keeping loss aversion in mind. My name is JaKaTaK, and as always, thanks for watching. If you have an idea for a video you would like me to do, please leave it with any questions, comments, criticisms, concerns, or anything beginning with letter C in the comment section below, and I'll see you again soon.